Okay, we're gonna begin here in the next couple minutes. So for those of you who are already on, just take a few moments to grab a notebook and a pen while we wait for people to get onto the live chat. And again, we're gonna begin in just about a minute or two, just to give people time to get on and get set up. All right, I got that message. We see you. So some of you know this is my second webinar I've ever done, and this is also the first time I'm using this platform. So everything's a little bit new for me here, so it's just going to take a minute to get started. If anyone wants to chat, over here on the right side of the screen, you should see a little chat box. So maybe just a couple people write in where you're viewing from. Are you viewing from New York? Are you viewing from California? Just to give me an idea of where everyone is. If you're in the West Coast, good morning. If you're in the East Coast, good afternoon. Just kind of let me know you're out there. Just type in the chat box where you're viewing from. Also, we got San Diego, Indian Land, South Carolina. Christine says, haha. We got Pittsburgh. Great. Awesome. Florida. Met me at HBM. Awesome. Very cool. Hi, Angela. Nice. My partner's in the room next to me. Santa Cruz. Yay. Okay, so we got people all over. Definitely like a East Coast, West Coast thing going on here. Awesome. Okay, good. I do teletrainings as well. And just last night I did one with some of my clients and I was like, just speak to me for a moment, because when you're doing things like this, when you're like leading teletrainings or webinars, it's like I'm just here alone in my office kind of speaking to no one. So it's nice to see that you're actually there. Feels a little more real for me. So let's begin. So this webinar is called Increase Your Impact and Your Income Authentically. So who this is for, and just so you guys know, I have note cards. This is an hour, 60 minutes of me talking about a lot of information. So this will just keep it fluid so that I don't lose my train of thought. So if you see me looking down every so often, it's just to keep me rolling so that all of this information comes out in a really cohesive way. So first of all, if you're here, who this is really for high achieving, courageous, heart-centered change makers. So this webinar is really for people who have a desire to, you have a big heart, you have a big vision, you want to make a big impact, and you're really ready to step into that next level where you're moving into what I call authentic leadership. So this is a great webinar for yoga teachers, for coaches of all kinds, for healers. This could be someone who's a solopreneur, so maybe you're a web developer, maybe you're an artist, maybe you're a writer, and just in general change makers, people out there who are do-gooders, who have a desire and a passion to really create change in the world, and whatever format that is, whether that's through making a documentary or acting in a film that's going to send a really powerful message, or coaching people to live better, be better, feel better, or teaching yoga, or helping people heal their body through therapy of some sort. This is probably, if you're here, you're in a place where you're feeling a little bit stuck. You're stuck in indecision, you're stuck in overwhelm, you're stuck in analysis paralysis, You're stuck in shoulds. There's a lot of information out there today about how it should be and how we should be doing things, especially in the realm of entrepreneurship, in the realm of creating your own business. There's a lot of shoulds out there, and I know that because I spent the past 2 years soaking up those shoulds, and it caused a lot of anxiety, stress, and overwhelm, where I was literally just in like getting so much information. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And it started to really take me out of my heart and into my head. And I wasn't showing up the way that I know that I can show up for the people that I want to show up for. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're beginning to lose confidence in yourself, or you're not feeling fulfilled in the work that you're doing, or you're not feeling there's a consistency with your creative output and your finances, and you're stuck in this question of like just wondering, how are people doing it? Like the ones that are doing it and they seem to be getting ahead and they seem to be thriving, how are they doing it? So if that's a question you're asking, you're in a great place. So what's in store for you in the next 60 minutes is we are going to cover 3 major topics. And within those 3 major topics, we're going to address a few different things. So the first thing that we're going to cover is what I call reinventing yourself. And this is about reframing your identity to one that makes you feel more powerful, that makes you feel more capable, and that makes you feel more inspired. And these are all things that change makers, I know, they want to feel. You want to feel powerful, you want to feel capable, and you want to feel inspired with the work that you're doing in the world. So we're really going to take this next 60 minutes to reframe our identity, to step back into that place. And it's a place that I know if you're on this call, you've felt it before. In fact, it's the feeling that got you into the work that you're doing in the first place. So this is going to be really about us delving into our come from. So this is who you are being in the world rather than what you're doing. Changing your focus to who you're being in the world, who you are showing up as, again, your come from, versus trying to figure it all out with like, what should I do? What should I do? And realizing that when you start operating from that mindset of who am I being in the world? What is my come from? Then this is going to drastically change your actions in the world. This is drastically going to change what you decide to do to move you in the direction that you want to move in your life and in your career. So what you'll notice that when you change your perspective here, you'll start to take more aligned actions. They'll feel more authentic. They'll feel more true to you. And when you're moving from that place, your tribe naturally gravitates to you. And you know, when your tribe naturally gravitates to you, it feels a lot more inspiring rather than pushy. And from that place, this really starts to increase your ability to serve. And when you can increase your ability to serve, this increases your bottom line, right? The second thing that you're going to get out of this webinar is we're going to talk about realigning you with your why, and why with capital letters, W-H-Y, capital letters. So what this is about is getting clear on why you got into this work in the first place. And if you're not already working in that work, why you want to be doing the work that you want to be doing in the first place. What inspired you, which called you to it in the first place. So this is going to be a conversation about leading your tribe to a vision versus being in that place of selling and marketing. We're still going to have to sell and market, and we'll talk about that and really being able to address that from a more authentic place. But that's going to start from really connecting with your vision and drawing people, leading people to your vision more so than like, here's my service, here's my product. This is going to be about having a conversation of how we can stop selling and start serving. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to rewire your mindset for success, but on your own terms. And I would probably say that this last bit has been the most powerful transformation for me. It's probably the one that I'm most passionate about. I think eventually I'll be able to take this and just do a whole another webinar just on that. And those last 4 words are what most important to me. It's on your own terms. because I think that this term success, there is kind of this general idea of what success is based on society's picture of that. And so often we get caught up in chasing this general idea of success rather than really, really, truly connecting with what is success for us right now, right here. Like what would make me proud and what would feel successful for me in the next year? Not based on what I think I should do and should achieve, or what other people are achieving and therefore I should match it and that makes me successful, but what really would make you successful right now, and being able to focus your attention on those tasks that are going to help you feel that way. And as you start feeling successful right now, more and more success will come to you, and then there's this growing process that happens. This is really going to be a conversation on money mindset. We're going to talk about shame, guilt, expectation, shoulds, and also attaching self-worth to money and having a conversation about that and really seeing where that's holding us back from our potential. And then at the end of this webinar, I'm going to tell you how you can apply for my upcoming 5-month program, which is specifically designed for change makers to increase their impact and their income. And I'll let you know about that towards the end of the webinar. So before we get started, I just want to give you a little background on my why and kind of how I figured it out, how I began to increase my impact and my income from an authentic place, and why I'm passionate about this. And the first thing that I want to say is that I have been in this industry working as a yoga teacher and in the kind of counseling coaching world for more than a decade. And what I have seen in that time is that most people who are in this change-making industry are struggling. They came into it with a lot of passion, a lot of heart, and a big desire to make an impact, to change the world, right? To really take something that has impacted them and changed them and help other people have that. And what I'm finding is that there's a lot of burnout in this industry because people are stuck on like, how do I do that? How do I serve from this really authentic place that really got me to start this work in the first place? But then also get past that place of just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it sticks, being in that place of scarcity, just surviving, just every month, just like, what can I do to bring in income this month? And that sucks because there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of amazing stuff, and they deserve to be able to have a lifestyle that is not one that's always struggling. So what I really want to do, what I'm really passionate about, is helping change makers to step up into their potential and their power and see that they can have both. They can create a powerful impact in the world, and they can also have the income and the lifestyle that they desire, as long as they are approaching that from an authentic place and not from a should. So getting really clear on that, and we're going to do a lot of that work today. There's a quote that I want to share with you guys that really I found this quote a little more than a year ago, and it really woke me up to kind of my bigger why. It's by the Dalai Lama, and he says, with the realization of one's own potential, I'm reading it over here, and self-confidence in one's ability, one can build a better world. And this is really my why, because I realized for me that when I started to really see my potential, see the way in which I can change people's lives and impact them, and I started to step into my confidence, I really started to see like, I can make a difference. I can actually make a difference. But it was so important for me to wake up to my potential and my self-confidence to be able to even go there. And every year that's growing and changing. And as I step more into my potential and more into having confidence in my abilities, my vision's getting bigger, and what I'm able to bring to the world is more rich, it's more impactful, and because of that, I'm also finding more sustainability in my income. And this is something too, you guys, that doesn't have to take years. Just to give you a little brief background on me, I'm living now in Santa Cruz, California. It'll be 3 years in August, so it's not even 3 years yet. Prior to that, I had lived 12 years in New York City. And those years in New York City when I was doing this work, I had worked as a yoga teacher, I had worked as a holistic health counselor, as a private healing food chef, as a body worker, had done a lot of different things in kind of the change-making industry. And I would say that I probably averaged annually, I don't even know for sure because I was that disconnected with money, but I definitely was paycheck to paycheck. And I probably averaged $25,000 to $30,000 a year in New York City, the most expensive place in probably the world to live. And I was serving big time. I mean, I was teaching in the New York City prison system. I was bringing programs into schools. I was serving big time, and I was barely able to afford my rent. Then I moved to Nicaragua for 2 years, and there I was doing the same kind of work, and I was volunteering a lot, and I was making actually the currency of Nicaragua for 2 years, which was fine when I was living in Nicaragua. But then I moved back to the United States. So I moved to Santa Cruz, like I said, just less than 3 years ago. And when I came here, I was in debt. So not only did I not have income, but I was in debt. So I was in credit card debt, and I also owed people money, friends that I was borrowing money from. So I was struggling, you could say, when I moved to California less than 3 years ago now. And now in about 2.5 years of me really applying some of the things that I'm going to teach you today, I'm not only not struggling, I'm beyond surviving. Like, I'm not in debt anymore. I don't owe people money. I have money in my savings account. I do the trainings and the programs I want. I hire the coaches I want. I go on retreats. I don't even think about, like, my bills are easily paid for. I would say that for me, I'm successful. I've hit success in as little as 2 years. And this is really what I want people in my industry to feel. And a big part of that is me defining success on my own terms versus, deciding like, oh, that's what success is. And when I get that, that's success. But really getting clear on what success is for me right now. And for me, that was like being able to easily and effortlessly pay all my bills, like not have to worry about that stuff, to be able to do when I see a training or a program that I feel like that I want that right now, to not be like, how do I pay for it? To be able to pay for it, to be able to afford a coach, to be able to afford going on vacations, to be able to afford the food I want to eat, to just not be stressing and worrying about money, but most importantly, to not be in a place where I feel like I need to get clients and students, like chasing them, because I'm fine. Like, I'm fine with my finances. So there's not this like need, it's more like a desire, because I want to serve and I want to get my mission out there, but it's not like, oh, please hire me. And I wanted to get out of that place because that's where I used to be, and it felt crappy and it disconnected me from serving, because it was just like, oh, I need to pay my bills, please pick me. And I want to get people in my industry as change makers out of that, because there's no reason you should be there. Like, you have amazing things to offer. And when you connect with the things I teach you today, you can start to lead from that place of authentic leadership versus struggle and need. All right, so everyone doing good? One person says they're not seeing anything, but I'm pretty sure everything is okay. Is everything okay, JP? Just give me a mark, like a hell yes, because I do see one person's having some technical issues, but it might just be something on their end. Just someone, 1 or 2 people type in. Ah, good. Whoever M is, I'm glad you figured it out. Okay, good. All right. So let's begin. And here's the point where you might want to start taking some notes. So this first one is about, again, like first one, reinventing yourself or reframing your identity. So to start, what I want to tell you guys is, what is reframing? So some of you may have heard that term before, but some of you may have not. Reframing is about changing the meaning of an experience by putting a new frame around it. And ideally, that new frame is a more empowering frame. So what we're going to do is reframe our identity from thinking of ourselves as just a yoga teacher, just a coach, I'm just a writer, I'm just an artist, I'm a healer, I'm a massage therapist. And I want to start out by saying there's nothing wrong with that. Like I tell people all the time, I'm a coach, I'm a yoga teacher. But oftentimes, if you're not living, this is what I want to say, if you're not living into your potential, then the need to reframe your identity from thinking that mindset of like, I'm just a yoga teacher, or I'm just a healer, or I'm just a web designer, or whatever. If you're not living into your potential, if you're not experiencing the success that you want to be having, both with impact and income, then there might be a need to up-level or upgrade your mindset to that of a leader in your industry. So for instance, like I think of myself now as not just a yoga teacher and not just a coach, but I'm a leader of my industry. So like I'll say yogi leader, right? And when I start to change my mindset into like, oh no, like I'm more than, like it's more than about teaching yoga, and it's more about coaching people into their potential, but like I'm a leader. It really changes my come from, right? My mindset has shifted, and it changes how I approach people. It changes how I approach my projects. It changes who I say yes to and who I say no to. It changes my mindset altogether in the way that I show up for the people who are there to receive my message. So this is really about reframing your mindset to understand that you are a leader in the work that you do. You're a leader. Right? And some of you might right away be like, yeah. And some of you might be like, no way, like I am not. And this is where, this is great, Ben. This is great that you're here. Like either way, this is great that you're here. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can really step into that leadership role. But first, what I want to talk to you, especially for those of you who are like, oh, that makes me feel a little weird. I don't know if I'm a leader in my industry. I'm kind of new at it, or, you know, I don't know what that is. I want to tell you a little bit about what I mean by the word leader. So first of all, to be a leader and to have a leadership mindset, this is one that when I talk about a leader, I'm talking about a value-based leader. So a leader who is conscious, a leader who is connected, and a leader who is courageous. Conscious, connected, courageous, and value-based. If you feel that you can resonate from those things, then you are a leader in your industry. So this is what I mean by authentic leadership. And this is also, keep in mind that someone who is leading from an authentic place is they're human, right? This is, you're not bulletproof, you're not perfect, you're human, right? Like you're gonna use note cards when you're doing webinars, like things are gonna get messy. There's no like you don't need to pretend, right? You're just showing up as you, doing what you're doing in a really real way. So people realize like this stuff, it's scary a little bit and it's awkward a little bit, and I'm gonna do it anyways because I have a mission, right? I wanna talk a little bit too about what I believe a leader, an authentic leader does. So first of all, an authentic leader gives permission for people to speak their truth, and that includes themselves. So they're not just giving others permission to come up and speak their truth, but they're remembering that they are other as well, right? They are of the people. So if they're giving permission for others to speak their truth, then that also needs to apply to them. They're not operating from the shoulds. They're curious. They ask questions and they're genuine. An authentic leader also empowers others to find their brightest light and to own their desires without shaming them. And again, this applies to you, right? So this applies to you giving yourself permission to shine your brightest light and to want what you want without feeling shame about it. An authentic leader is also courageous and compassionate. And what I want to say about courage, and I talk a lot about this with my clients and my students, is that courage, to have courage, that means you are afraid, right? If you're not afraid, then you don't need courage, because to be courageous means to be afraid and do it anyways. Like, I will tell you guys, this is my second webinar, and the first one I was super freaked out to do. This one, I felt like it was more like excited energy. Like my boyfriend can tell you, I've been like hopping around all morning, but it's because there's like, I'm getting bubblies in my stomach. Like I'm afraid, you know, it took me a little while, a little bit of thinking and watching other people do it before I fully stepped into it, because it's scary. It's not just like, oh yeah, like whatever, I'm just gonna do this stuff. No, authentic leaders, they acknowledge that there's some fear there. And in fact, one really powerful reframe that I was taught many years ago and that I love is that when fear comes up, unless you're in mortal danger, right? It's actually a compass pointing you in the direction you're meant to go. So it's an incredible tool to help you know what you need to do next to move you in the direction that's going to grow you in the way that you want to grow. Authentic leaders are also paving a path for others not to follow, but to be inspired by something bigger than themselves, inspired by a dream, a vision, a mission. So I know something that I see that's happening big time right now in our industry and all the industries due to social media is people are becoming obsessed with how many followers they have. I mean, even just think about that alone, like, you know, and they're basing their worth around whether or not they are, you know, likable, and also whether or not they think that they can be successful based on that. And I meet a lot of new entrepreneurs who all of their attention is just on that. They're putting so much attention on growing their following on social media rather than really connecting with the things that are going to really truly grow them into the leader they're meant to be and really truly create the impact and income they want. In fact, I know several people who have actually an incredible following on social media, but they don't even make a living in what they do. Like it looks like it to the outside world, like, oh, they're doing so amazing, but the truth is they're not. And then I know people who barely have a following and they're doing amazing. They're creating a huge impact and they're, you know, making an excellent income. And not to say that you shouldn't do social media and you shouldn't work on that, but just noticing if like so much of your energy is on that, and then also asking that authentic question to yourself, like, and is it actually getting me the results I want? Or is it just a way for me to hide and not actually do the things that I need to do to really grow me in the way that I want to grow? Okay, also an authentic leader is someone who stays present in the midst of uncertainty and discomfort. And for me, this is mastery. I mean, this is what we're practicing when we get on the mat, right? Like, can you stay in your parasympathetic nervous system? Can you stay in your relaxation response? Can you stay present and calm, even when you're challenged, even when you're struggling? And yeah, this isn't about finding that point where you no longer struggle or have challenge, but training yourself, because there's always going to be some sort of struggle or challenge, especially if you're growing. If you're someone who's growing, you're always going to have some sort of challenge, right? Some sort of, you know, growth to take, you know, and this is a good thing. This is an exciting thing. And a leadership mindset knows that, like, knows that challenge is going to be a part of the path. And so therefore, it's not like, let's get rid of challenge, but let's figure out how to work with it. So staying present in the midst of uncertainty and discomfort. And then the last one I want to say is an authentic leader has the willingness to get it wrong. And I would want to go as far as saying even getting it indefinitely wrong. And the reason, what can really give the authentic leader the courage to get it indefinitely wrong is to be clear, and we're going to talk about this later, on what they are a stand for. Because when you're a stand for something, even when you get knocked down, even when you start to feel things don't go the way that you had hoped that they had gone, or you start to feel discouraged, or you start to doubt yourself, what holds you up and keeps you going is that you are a stand for something. So you have the willingness to get it wrong. I could do a whole webinar on how many times I've gotten it wrong, right? Or how many times that I think on the outside, people thought like it was super successful, and it wasn't. It wasn't, you know? But I'm still here. I'm still going, and I'm going to keep on going, right? Because I'm a stand for something. So the other thing I want to say, and I kind of mentioned this too, is like the leader really gets that problems, we'll say problems, struggle, challenges, they're actually an opportunity. They're an opportunity to grow, to see what didn't work, to change, to redefine, to redirect, to get support, rather than problems or struggle being a sign that you should stop, right? So they look at those things as like, okay, this, you know, if I'm experiencing struggle, then I'm growing, and if I'm growing, then I'm doing the work. I'm putting myself out there. Okie dokie. So what I want you guys to do is take a moment right now and just ask yourself, what are you a stand for? So what am I a stand for? Now, a really helpful way, I actually heard this person named Mastin Kipp, if any of you guys have heard of him. He speaks of it this way, and I really like it. He says, what are you compassionately angry about? And I would love if you guys typed in, if right away you're like, oh, I know what it is, right? I know what it is. Go ahead and type in, what are you compassionately angry about? So what are you a stand for? You know, to give you an example, what I am a stand for is I'm a stand for change makers stepping into their potential. Because what makes me compassionately angry is seeing people who have this incredible gift to really impact people, but they're being like kind of steered away from it because they are struggling. Like they're struggling, how do I actually make an impact? How do I actually have some income, right? So just take a moment and think about that. You can write that down on your pen, on your pad of paper, and even share with us. A couple ways to kind of look at this too, like what are you a stand for? And how are you reframing your identity as a leader? I want to give you some examples. Like I told you guys that I like to consider myself a yogi leader. And I'm a stand for waking up change makers to their potential so that they can increase their impact and their income. There's this really amazing woman out there who she calls herself the yogipreneur, and she is out in the world to help yoga teachers in particular, but also other types of people like coaches to like learn the business strategies that they need to learn, the time management, different things like that. In fact, she has an incredible free training on her website that's called Fired Up and Focused that really just helps you to get fired up and focused. Chris Carr, if you guys have ever heard of her, she has lots of like juicing books out there. She has a movie out there. She has podcast, like meditations, and she's a wellness advocate and a cancer thriver. So she's not a cancer survivor. She's actually living with cancer, but she's thriving with it. And she's doing that through a green food-based diet. And that's what she empowers other people to do too. I just signed a client recently, and she tells me that she's the champion. She's a champion of the ocean, which is so incredible to me. And in fact, when I work one-on-one with people, the main thing that I'm looking for is to be inspired by people's mission. And when she, was talking to me about what she wanted, and those words came out of her mouth, immediately I was like, I want to work with you. Like, I want to help you find your platform to be a champion of the ocean. A dear friend of mine who I actually co-lead a women's 200-hour yoga teacher training with, she is the leader of the Yes Revolution. And she has created the Sisterhood of Yes. And her mission is to empower people to live their yes. Like, what's your big yes? What's your big dream? What are you afraid of but want more than anything? When you start to really connect with this, not only does it totally help you to funnel and get clear on like things like your niche, but it just comes from this place of it's bigger. It's not just like, what's my niche, but it's bigger. It feels like you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your belly. It's big, right? So when you're a stand for something, really this changes the energy of how you show up. When you're a stand for something, it changes the energy of your come from. As a leader, we're more concerned with who we are being than what we are doing. Because when you get really clear with who am I being in the world, that next question of what do I do starts to become much more clear. As leaders, what I wrote here is like, which I've been saying is we're operating more from our values, right? We're value-based in what we stand for. And we start to ask ourselves more empowered questions. And so I want to give you a few of these questions, because when we're in this place of we're not feeling empowered and we're not in our leadership, we're asking these kind of questions, right? Like, why isn't this working out for me? What should I do? What would you do? Why don't you tell me? Because I don't know. I'll just do what you do, right? But when you're coming from this place of leadership, these questions are much more empowering. They're questions like, who am I being? What am I a stand for? What am I compassionately angry about? What's my current mindset? So for instance, like, what meaning am I making about things? Like, for instance, we'll even say like sales, marketing. What meaning are you making about it? What's your mindset about that? What's the story that you're telling yourself? Are you caught up in one of the 7 mind traps? You guys, this is an incredible book. It's a required book for my yoga teacher training. It's called a mindfulness-based stress reduction workbook. And it speaks of the 7 mind traps. Are you caught up in them? One of them is negative self-talk, catastrophizing, so making something bigger than it really is, exaggerating the negative and discounting the positive. You know, like, yeah, I'm really growing a lot from that training, but I still don't have a client. So it's like exaggerating the negative and discounting the positive. Mind reading, assuming that you know what other people are thinking. Being the eternal expert, like you want to be right more than you want to be happy. The shoulds, that's one of them, right? The shoulds. And then blaming. So are you caught up in those? What's your mindset as you're operating, as you're moving forward, as you're creating, as you're serving? And then that big one, who am I being? What does my come from? So other questions, and you can write, these are really empowering questions, so write these down too. Another question that a leader will ask themselves is, what strategies do I have in place to support me? What strategies do I have in place to support me? Like, for instance, one strategy that I have in place that supports me is I do something called block scheduling. Block scheduling is when you schedule in your calendar kind of like similar tasks on the same day. So for instance, to give you an example, I coach all of my clients only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That way, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, my energy is only going towards coaching, rather than like, okay, I'm going to coach a client and then I'm going to go teach a yoga class and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to write my newsletter and then I'm going to, at the end of the night, I'm going to like plan my project, which is like a lot of different, like it's all over the place, right? So it's all blocked. But also, I always coach my clients at the beginning of the month. So any new people come on, they always start at the beginning of the month. And I only coach on the 1st and the 3rd week of the month. Therefore, the 2nd and the 4th week are free for me to do things like lead week-long retreats or go on a week-long retreat. It's open for me to do traveling. I also end my coaching programs mid-October so that I can still lead my 200-hour teacher training in Costa Rica with Sophia. So I have these strategies in place so that I can be supported in the work that I'm doing in the world. So asking those things. Asking the question like, how will I know that I'm succeeding? Like, right? How do you measure it? How will you know? What will you see? Who will you be? How will you be showing up? So just some questions to consider as you step up into leadership. So the second one is realigning with your why. Realigning with your why. So there is this very well-known author, speaker, and he's a consultant who writes about leadership and management. His name is Simon Sinek. I really highly recommend you write his name down. Last name is spelled S-I-N-E-K. He wrote the book Start With Why. And he says, and he also did a TED Talk on it. So if you put it in, you'll like, that's the first thing that comes up. And he says, great leaders inspire action. So what he says, his big message is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They buy why you do it, right? So my question to you is, what inspired you to start the work you're doing or you want to be doing in the world in the first place, right? Like, so what got you onto the mat? Why did you show up on the yoga mat? And then why did you start teaching? Or why did you become a coach, right? Why did you desire to become a coach? And was there something before that, right? Like, did you receive coaching? Did you, if you're a health coach, did you have a health issue that you overcame and then you desired to help people, so you wanted to become a coach to help them? Like, what was your why, right? Why did you become a massage therapist? And did you have an injury that was healed through massage, that was healed through touch? Like, what is your story, right? What is your why? Why did you get into this work, or why do you want to get into this work in the first place? So my why is really like, when I first got on the mat, what I was there for was, I was a mess. I was a mess. And I wrote down, like, when I really break down why I was there, was, ultimately it was for me to find peace of mind. It was for me to, at the time I wasn't cognizant or aware to say these things, but I was showing up to find peace of mind, to find confidence, and to believe in myself, because I, more than a decade ago, was not in that place. I was not who I am now. I was, but I wasn't showing up this way. And then, so that's why I got in the mat, for those things, like inner peace, confidence, and believing in myself. Then when I became a yoga teacher, I started teaching to incarcerated youth in New York City, and I spent about 6 to 7 years doing that. And in fact, the first year was only volunteer-based before I even made a dime. So I taught for free for a little more than a year, actually. But what I realized was the same thing, like what I was bringing to them. And just so you know, when I teach yoga, I have kind of like a mixture of, like, it's very like mind body. I've always like been more of like a coach kind of person, like really, like, when I was especially teaching kids in prison, this was a lot more dialogue based, a lot more asking questions and empowering them to rise up to their potential. And what I found was the same thing, was like, I was helping these people find inner peace. I was helping them to build their confidence and to believe in themselves. And what I have found really helps people do this is helping them to connect with their authenticity, to helping them connect to their humanness and to everyone else's humanness. And what I have found is that when we begin to expand and we begin to grow, this happens when we stretch ourselves, both literally stretching ourselves, but also figuratively. In other words, when we stretch ourselves just outside of our comfort zone, that's when we begin to grow and expand. And it's in that place that we start to build our confidence, that we start to believe in ourselves, that we start to find that inner peace that we're seeking. And what I really love reminding people is that within that space, there's also vulnerability, right? Like, there's nothing more vulnerable than stretching outside of your comfort zone, but there's nothing more empowering and human than that as well. So when you become deeply connected with your why, and here's really what I'm wanting to teach in this section, what you create is a movement, not a business. What you create is a movement, not a business. So what I'm really helping the change makers that enter my program is to get out of that mindset of creating a business and what is the movement that they're creating. And really, like I said, calling your tribe to your vision, to your mission, because that's also their mission. They want to be a part of that movement. And when you're leading from this place, it feels authentic. It feels inspiring. It feels like even when it's tough, you got to keep going, right? Because you're a stand for this. This isn't just a business. Hope it works out. I'll give it a couple of years. If not, I'll try something else, right? And when you're operating from this place too, you'll do what it takes to make sure that you can sustain it. So what I find is in the world of entrepreneurship and business, there are so many shoulds, which is why I like titled this kind of, joking, like no more bullshitting. Let's start leading. Because when you're operating from the shoulds, there's all of this, like, what should I do to grow my business versus really doing the work to connect with your vision, with your purpose, with your mission, with your why, with what you're a stand for. And then from that from that place, creating your body of art, your body of work, those things that are going to allow for your tribe to also grow and find their own platform, or whatever, their healing, their whatever it is they're looking for, from a place that feels real and authentic and like we're all part of something. What you start to find too is that you get back into that place of serving, right? It's not so much about selling and creating like what's going to sell and what's going to make the most money, but you just get back to this, the heart of why you're doing this, that service. And when you're doing that, this is like there's a natural growth and a natural following. And what's even more beautiful about that is that the more that I connect in this, and I'm a student of this as well, like I'm learning how to master this as well, but the more that I embody this, the more that the people who gravitate to me are the ones I really want to be working with. Like instead of just having clients, I actually have ideal clients. And for those of you who are already working in the work that you do, you know what I mean. That's a game changer. That's a game changer. There's one thing to have clients, and there's another thing to have clients that totally light you up and inspire you, and you like can't wait to be around them and talk to them. Okay. So, what do I want to say now? Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about here is, I'm trying to think of how I want to funnel this in. Okay, so here's another great read. This book is a game changer. It's called The Prosperous Coach. And yeah, any coach out there, like you need to write that down, get that book like today. But even if you're a yoga teacher, a massage therapist, I don't care. I think every single person who is a change maker, who is doing work in the world that is of their heart and wants to create a big impact and really do this from an authentic place and reconnect with this book will be impactful for you. And what I want to mention from this book that was really, that really helped me and really like, was like a reminder is that there was a line in that book, like so often I hear from clients, friends, or I see this online, is this whole comment of, like there's this struggle, right? Their come from is like needy, right? And it's like, I just need a client, or I just need students to sign up for this. I like need that to happen, right? And there's this energy of like this neediness, which is not attractive. Like people are not gonna wanna be led by that. Like I just need, right? And there's a line in the book that says, if you're saying to yourself, I need a client, you don't need a client, what you need is a job. And I laugh at that because I do remember when I was in that place. But it's like you want to get to this place where you can serve, and you cannot authentically serve from a place of need. And if you are deeply a stand for something, like I said, and you have that leader mindset, you'll do whatever it takes to be able to serve in an authentic way, even if that means getting a job and then doing this on the side where you can do it. Like you can offer a retreat, you can offer your one-on-one packages, you can offer those things without needing them to sign up because you are going to pay your bills because you have another job. And yes, eventually you hopefully will get to a place where you don't need to have that side job. But if you're coming from this place of like, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to have that side job, I'm not going to do that, then that mindset is going to limit you, because as you try to grow your movement, you're going to be doing that from a super needy place. And when you're needy, you're also going to work with anyone. You're going to let anyone into your teacher training. You're going to let anyone come to your retreats. You're going to work with just anyone who's willing to give you money, rather than going, can I really serve this person? Do I truly believe that I can serve them? And only saying yes to that, one. And two, will I be inspired by this person? Will I grow from this person? Am I truly a stand for what they want? So you're really being authentic if you say, yes, let's work together. Yes, come to my teacher training. Yes, like, you know, it's not just like anyone, please, anyone who will pay me, you can become my client, you can become my student, anyone, you know? And there's such a different, again, can you imagine the different to come from, if you can come from that place, how differently you will show up and how differently you will attract people and how differently you will feel about the work you're doing in the world? And can you see how quickly things will start to grow for you? When I first moved back from Nicaragua to California, as you know, that was less than 3 years ago. I'm almost 37. And I got a waitressing job. And yes, my ego was like, but you know what? I had to do that because otherwise, as I grew my business here in Santa Cruz and started to grow it online, if I didn't have some sort of income coming in, then every time I was offering a service to someone, and back then when I first came to Santa Cruz, what I was offering was just massage and one-on-one yoga. I hadn't fully started my coaching yet here in Santa Cruz. Just would have came from this really weird, needy place. But because I had, you know, I wasn't coming from a scarcity, lack, need place, I was able to quit that waitressing job. I think I only did it for like 3 or 4 months. And then I had enough clients in that capacity to support me. And then from there, I went on and started to get into the coaching and had like the massage and the yoga supporting me. And now I don't do the massage I don't do the massage at all. And I only teach 2 local yoga classes in Santa Cruz. And I only teach those classes because I freaking love them, you know? Okay. The other thing that I want to say about this too is that when you're coming from this place, you're serving, right? You're serving no matter what. And when you're doing that, you develop confidence because confidence comes from practice. In fact, there is this chart called the stages of confidence. And it comes from this man named Dan Sullivan. He's a strategic coach. And he says, this is how confidence is developed. First, you become committed, right? Committed to something new, something different, right? So maybe you're deciding to be a yoga teacher or a coach or a massage therapist. And when you first, or a web designer, and when you first start doing this, it's new, right? But you're committed to this new thing. And to really develop your confidence, you need to practice at it. And so first you commit to it. That's the first stage. The second stage is courage. So you're afraid, but you do it anyways. You put yourself out there and you start serving anyways, even though you might be thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready. Oh, well, I'll start teaching in like 6 months, or oh, I'll get a massage later. I'll do it later. No, none of that. Right away, start serving. Right away, courage. Be afraid, do it anyways. Then comes capability, right? As you're courageous and you're serving, you start to become more and more capable. And then the final stage is confidence. Okay? So you just got to get out there. You got to start serving. So my question to you is, what are you a stand for? Right? What are you a stand for? And really, you know, I think it's clear enough so far, you know, from what we've talked about, but like asking yourself, what are your values? What are you compassionately angry about? What brought you onto the mat in the first place? What made you decide to teach? What made you decide to coach? Another one that I love thinking about is like, what would you want to be known for? You know, what would make you feel proud? If there was one gift you could give to the world, just one, what would it be? Okay. So last one is to rewire your mindset for success on your own terms. So again, this is kind of like that money mindset conversation. And again, this is one that I love talking about. I feel like I could do a whole separate webinar just on this topic. And I just want to hit a few points here, and then we'll close and I'll tell you guys how you can apply for my program. So the first one is and this is so important, you guys, and this took me a long time to get this, but it's not unspiritual or inauthentic to earn money from your services. It's just not. And I find that in the industry of service, where we're putting out our art, our heart, our work, our mission, our vision, we get very like, there's a lot of like scariness around that. And then especially if it's one that helps people become healthier, helps people rise up to their potential, any of this stuff, there's like, am I inauthentic or is it unspiritual if I actually earn money from this, if I actually make a living from this, and God forbid I actually thrive from this, right? And there is unfortunately a lot of judgment out there as well, and being a leader is really being able to not let those judgments affect you, and to know that that's their own, like, let them, they're in their own place about that. But the more that you have, not just like literally like materially in money, but the more that you have, like the more that your well is full, the more that you can serve and that you can give. And keeping in mind that money is energy, right? That's all it is. And so if money is energy, then therefore money is what you believe it to be. So if you believe money to be evil, then so it will be. And I can imagine that if you are a heart-centered, courageous person, heart-centered, courageous, big vision, big dreams, but you think money is evil or makes people bad, then you will not draw it in. You will not attract it because you don't want to be evil and you don't want to be bad, right? If you believe money to be complicated or difficult, who wants to draw in complicated and difficult in their life, especially in the form of money? You just won't attract it to you. So getting really clear on what you believe money to be. This was something for me that when I first really started to uncover my beliefs and my mindset around money, I realized that I had a belief and a mindset that people with money weren't actually authentic. And my whole work is around being authentic. Like, it's a major value for me. So of course I was struggling financially, because if I was to have money, that would mean I was inauthentic. And there's no way that I was going to do that, right? So get really clear on what your mindset, what your beliefs are around money, because your life will be a reflection of those beliefs. In fact, the word belief means to hold something dear. And so if you have a belief, you will do whatever it takes, consciously or unconsciously, to hold that belief intact. Also, reframing this whole idea of marketing and selling. Right? There's like a lot of like around it. So, because if you are going to make a living doing the work you love doing, you're going to have to market and you're going to have to sell at some point. And this reframe that I want to share with you has been really helpful for me. And it's this: marketing, like this whole process of stepping into leadership and actually making an income off the impactful work that you do, is not about selling or marketing better, but more so about inspiring others and then revealing an answer to their question. Revealing an answer to their question, right? These are people that, like, they have a question. They want support in some way. They want to change, and you're revealing the answer to that, an opportunity for them. And that's it. They can take it, they can leave it. And for me, when I really started looking at it that way, it kind of softened it a little bit for me. Yeah, okay. So the last thing, because I really want to make sure I share this last little bit, is that there is this whole kind of six-figure phenomena. This is going on right now. This is really around the shoulds that take place. So with regards to your money mindset and creating success on your own terms, I want you to just take a moment and look at, like, if you are placing your self-worth and your value on a number. And if you have some kind of like magical number that you feel like, when I have that, then I will be successful, then everything will be okay. And I say that because that really was like my mindset, even just a year ago. It was like, when I hit six figures, then that's really like, that's it, that's success, right? And what I realized was, like, that is like me operating on someone else's paradigm, someone else's idea of what it means to be a successful entrepreneur, a successful leader, a successful change maker. But when I really look, anyone really looks at their reality and their lifestyle and what they need, that might be, you might say, like, in reality, that is true for me, but it might not be. And what I also find is, so often people aren't meeting themselves where they're at. So they're kind of putting this like general vision out there that feels really overwhelming and unapproachable and inaccessible to them. And so I want you to write these 5 words down with regards to finances. There are 5 places you could be in. So the first one is you could be in struggle. You could be struggling. So struggling means that you're in the place financially where you're not consistently paying your bills. You're struggling with money, right? You don't know from month to month if you're going to be able to just meet your basic survival needs, pay for the rent, the roof over your head, have the food in the fridge to feed you and your family. So often I'll meet people who are in that place who are like, my goal is 6 figures. I mean, it's like, whoa, you can't whoa, let's first just get you out of struggle mode before we start talking about 6 figures, right? Then the next level from struggle, you go to survival. So you're struggling, then you're surviving. Surviving is where you are surviving, like you're paying your bills, you've got food in the fridge, you know you can survive, you've got the basics down and covered. But that's about it. That's about it. You're surviving. Then the next level up is stable. So you're stable, like you're definitely stable. You're not even really, you're not stable. You're not worrying about the basics anymore. You've got that covered. And even at stability, there's a little bit of extra. Like there's a little bit extra to do a little bit here and there. Maybe if the car breaks down, you know, you've got a little something on the side and you can take care of that. You're stable. You're generally stable, but that's it, you know? And then success is that next level where your bills are paid for. You're not worrying about that. There's extra for emergencies, but there's also extra for doing things like programs and training and growing and like investing in your business. Your success, you've got that going on. And then self-actualize, that's where it's like financial freedom, right? That's like beyond. And so really kind of looking at where you're at, and then from that place being clear on the decisions that you're making and what, like, kind of moving authentically up the levels. And just so you know, like, that can all happen within a couple months, a couple years. Like, there's no like, and that will take you 10 years. In fact, I went from struggle to success in 2. And I'd even say, yeah, you know, like 2 years. And that's a pretty big jump, you know? So just being able to kind of use that formula so that you're coming to this place around your mindset and meeting yourself where you're at with regards to success authentically and on your own terms. For me, it was really helpful to look at that and get out of this like, oh, I just need to make 6 figures. And I like barely at the time, I didn't even know like how much money was in my bank account. I know we're right at the time. And so what I want to do here is just say a couple of little things to close is that when you're stepping up into leadership, just asking yourself, there are 4 things to kind of consider, and we're about to end in like 5 minutes. And one of them is really recognizing that success is like not an overnight thing. You've got to be committed to this. You've got to be okay with doing the work. And even especially in the beginning, I will say my first 2 years of building my business, I worked a lot more, a lot harder. You know, it's like, I was just starting, I was learning, I was in school, I was experiencing like coaching that was like really stretching me and like, oh, you know, it was intense the first couple of years. So know that it's not this overnight thing, and there will be a bit of work to put into it. You're learning like a whole nother skill here when you step into leadership. And then learning how to do that from an authentic place that feels real and aligned is really, it takes a little bit of work, a little bit of discipline, a little bit of commitment. Also slowing down, right? Really just slowing down, being able to focus on what is most essential and what really matters to you and what's really going to get you to your next level. And for you right now, it's like getting really clear. If right now your main thing is I just need to make more money, then like focusing on what does that look like? And maybe right now that's about like not making money in, you know, your entrepreneurship stuff, but from other things, like really getting focused and seeing what is essential. What do I really need to focus my energy on right now? In fact, some of the most successful people in the world, they've been interviewed on like what makes them success. And they all say the same thing is they're like, I focus on one thing at a time, one thing at a time. And for a lot of us, I can imagine we're really creative, and that is super hard to do. But the more that I do that, the more the space that I have in my head and also in my schedule for me to really show up and get clear on what needs to happen next. Doing less, just doing less, really mastering the art of saying no to the things that are not in alignment with your vision, with your movement, and saying, so that there's more space and availability for you to say yes to the things that do really matter. And then that last thing is like getting support, however that is. Is that about like, if you're new and growing your business, does this mean that you need to get childcare? Are you in that place where your business is already growing and it's time to get a virtual assistant? Are you like totally stuck and feeling like, okay, I've been doing this long enough and I'm not getting anywhere, it's time to get a coach? Like, where are you with support, and authentically, how do you need to get that support so that you can show up powerfully? Yeah, so what I want to do now is just tell you guys a little bit about my upcoming program that I'm offering. And before I say anything, I want to say that this is the last time it's offered for all of 2016. And in fact, this is the last time it will be offered in the way that it is ever, because I'm doing some big changes for 2017. This program starts on July 1st, and it's a 5-month program. And it's intended for change makers. And again, this is anyone from yoga teachers to coaches to healers to solopreneurs, from like writers, artists. This is people who are ready to step up into leadership in the work that they do in the world so that they can create a bigger impact and a bigger income. In this program, you're going to get one-on-one coaching from me. You're going to get some training. You're going to get support. You're going to get accountability. You're going to get resources. It's going to be an opportunity for us to co-create and really define or refine your vision, to upgrade your mindset to that of a leader, to get super clear, really create an action plan meeting you where you are at so that you can start to see the growth that you want to see from a place that feels authentic and not like, okay, well, so I should be doing this and I should be doing that, but you're actually tuning in with what you want so that it feels accessible, and it feels sustainable, and it feels fulfilling. It depends on where you are at, but there might be some what I call like the art of influence, and really teaching you a little bit of skills around authentic marketing and selling, so that when you're offering your services, you're offering your packages, this is coming from a place that doesn't feel super cheesy and weird, but it's like, here it is, like, I'm super excited for this. Like, this is going to be awesome, and feeling that versus like, oh, you sign up for my program. And it's just, in general, you'll be a part of a group of people who are all like-minded and all growing together from this place and from this value of being a value-based leader and tapping into what is most real to them and what they stand for. So, like I said, this program begins July 1st. You can learn more about it by going to my website, ambercampion.com/coaching. And I'm going to put right here, I'm just going to give you guys the link. If you go there, you can learn more about it, and you can also apply to be in the program. So I only have 3 spots left in the program. And once you apply, as long as I feel like it's a good fit, you'll hear from me either way, but if I feel it's a good fit, I'll then send you an email with my calendar. And just so you guys know, I only have 7 spots for the month of June I'll actually have a coaching call with you. So we'll have a powerful conversation that lasts anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes, where I'll actually coach you, and we'll see, I'll find out what is your vision and what is it that you're wanting to create and what's preventing you from that. And we'll get really clear, and you'll get kind of a style of, you'll get an idea of my coaching, and we'll be able to see if it's really a good fit. And if from there, then we can talk further. But know that there's 7 spots. They always get full. They will fill, but there's only 3 spots. I'm not lying about that. There really is only 3 spots left in the program. So if this is something you're interested in, I highly encourage you, click that link right now, fill out the application right now. Because the sooner you do that, the sooner you can schedule the coaching call with me, and then from there have a better opportunity of getting into the program. Now, the thing that I want to say about this is the price of this program is so good. I made it so affordable. It's really the price of what most yogis will go out and spend for a week-long yoga retreat. In 1 week, they'll spend this amount of money, probably more, especially if they're flying somewhere. And this is a 5-month program where we're really going to upgrade and up-level your life and your business. So the program is $3,100 for 5 months. And that's if you pay in full, and there's also a payment plan, and all of that information is on my website. So you can literally, everything you need to know about it is on that link that I sent to you over there. And that's also where the application is. Plus, when we come into the coaching call, besides getting coached and helping you get clear on what your vision is, what's preventing you from actualizing that and being that right now, you also have an opportunity to ask me a little bit more about my program. So what I want to say is if you have any questions prior to sending in the application, you can always send me an email, and that is amber.campion@gmail.com. And you can also access me, obviously, from my website and send me a message through there. It goes to a different email. It goes to support. But if you want to get to me right away, amber.campion@gmail.com. And to close, I just want to close with a really awesome quote that for me really wraps up this whole message in one. And it's from one of my mentors. Her name is Stacy Morgenstern. And here it is. So, the secret, it seems, is not just to become great yourself, but rather to become so great that you inspire others to embody their own greatness unto themselves, unto you, and unto the world. And with that, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I truly, truly want to see you step up to your leadership and make the impact and the income that you deserve. And if my program is the right fit for you, I am really excited to review your application. Thanks for being here. And I'll be sending out the replay later on today. Thanks so much.